Welcome back to all my ju- listeners. Today we are talking about the next lecture or the first lecture in my YouTube. The previous one I did on my LinkedIn uh, friends and fellow members. Today we are launching as our YouTube channel and we will discuss the basic sets of business process modeling in our YouTube channel. And this lecture and this webinar is totally focused on the basic sets of business process modeling. What we need to know, what we need to use when we are designing a business process. As I explained earlier, what we need to do as a business student, that every system, every software, every piece of industry which is using the software has a sequence of events, sequence of processes. To orchestrate those sequence of processes is called business process notations. We have two kind of annotations or standards which we use for depicting the business process. One is called BPEL, business process expression language, and the other is BPMN, business process management notation. The third one also is commonly in use is called choreography, CNM. We have like choreographic notation modeling that we will discuss a bit later, what choreography can be used. So in today's webinar, we are trying to focus on the BPMN annotations. What are the most important BPM annotations we can use? What is the benefit of having a BPM notations? BPM notations has many symbols. One, they are divided into events, tasks, gateways, and persistence objects. So in our and then the people who are going to use or the people who are responsible for that sequence mean the roles, the users. So we can assign the sequence of nodes and then we assign those sequence to one specific role or one specific user. We call it pool or swim lane. So in our higher diagram we have events that can be start event, it can be an end event. We have tasks, we have that can be service task, that can be a human task, that can be automated task, that can be a normal task. We can have a sub process. Sub process is a collection of BPMs. They can be a collapsible or they can be an uncollapsible, like with a plus sign. So it's just depicting how you are adding into your BPM diagram as a business analyst or a business personnel who is going to define a process for a business or for a system being used by healthcare, banking, e-commerce, uh, uh, mechanical industry, IoT, defense industry. So if you just think about your first time when you're entering into a college, what you have to do, you go to the place where you need to buy a prospectus. You fill your prospectus and you come to a next section when you submit your prospectus and then you get the time for your test or interview. So every point you go is that you are performing a task. You can do online, you can do human. So every sequence when you are combining those sequence is called business process of student admission mechanism in a university. So it's also termed as a flow chart. If you just come back into an old age, we called it as a flow chart. When we are in the first session of our banking system or first session of our computer science education, we learn our flowchart classes, that how we have to design a flowchart, define a prime number flowchart, a true or false flowchart. So these flowcharts are the seed for business process modeling notations or the business process expression language, then orchestration language. We have a swim lane and pool. Swim lane is the area where we define the owner or the role who are going to perform those tasks. Like you have an administration role, we have a software development role, we have a system analyst role. In healthcare, we have a surgeon role, we have a physician role, we have pharmaceutical role, we have a pathological role. So, if the role of pathology, what tasks he has to perform in patient registration mechanism, is nursing role, patient triage role. So you need to understand all kind of roles when you are defining your swim lane. In swim lane can have a multiple sequence of tasks, and those tasks can be interoperable between other swim lanes, other pools. We have a gateways. We can have a exclusive or gateway, and gateway, or normal conditional gateway. Exclusive or gateway mean if it's like if else condition, you can have a multiple entry point but only one exit point. And you have a parallel gateway or plus gateway or and gateway, where you can have a multiple outputs, you can have a single input and multiple outputs. You can have a multiple input it based on your requirements. You have it. Now we talk about events. Event, normally the famous events is a start event, when the process need to be initiated. We have a end event or termination event, when the process need to be terminated, or when the process is completed successfully and ended gracefully. We have an email event, we have a timer event, when that process or task has to be done based upon the scheduling process. So we have different annotations where we are defining something. Like if this task has to do something, and we are want that software development team should implement, so we can create our text annotation so that they can understand. So these are the things, the basics overview by high level process model. Now we discuss about swim lane and message flow. I already informed you that swim lane is the place we define the ownership or the roles or the users of those tasks, and then flow of those tasks. They can be interoperable, like one pool, like employees or your soft system analyst team, they need to analyze the same. Like then they have to transfer the analysis to the software development team. Software development team need to understand the requirement. Then they will find the right technology for those requirements. Then they start coding. Then they finish the coding. Then it moves toward the software quality assurance team. They test the quality of the software, the functional testing, penetration testing, so that there is no kind of data leakage risks, or compliance testing. After that, they move toward the deployment team, DevOps team. They will deploy to uh, different pipelines like AWS, Azure, Google Cloud. So every role is fall into a swim lane and pool. So you need to understand. So the communication between those swim lanes and the different BPMs, we call it, we do it into an dotted arrowhead. I will explain you in the next stage what is dotted arrowhead and what is hard code, like strong arrowhead, strong line arrowhead. What's the difference between them? And we need to understand when we are designing a BPM process. So between pools, communication is modeled with message flows. Dotted arrowhead is a message flow. We can use any kind of middleware architecture, uh, or by using REST API or non-REST API. The pools are used in the process and collaboration diagrams. So we will discuss when we go for collaboration and orchestration. Now we talk about activities and sequence flows. An activity is a generic type of work that an individual or a company performs. An activity can be a task then divided into three categories: service task, human task, and normal task, where you can use it by rule engines or BRMS, all kind of stuff. Service tasks are the tasks which are doing the stuff automatically, like we are automating a process. uh, let's suppose we talk about loan originating system. In the loan originating system, what is going to happen? One person apply for a task. If we apply for a loan, sorry, when they apply for the loan, the next The next task will be define the requirements for the loan. If the loan is below the threshold value, we go for a logical task. If it is a logical node or conditional node, if it is less than the threshold value, it should process automatically and then uh, reimburse the loan to the or credit the loan into the personal's account. If it is more than the threshold value, then the next task will be a human task. The human task will be they will ask for collaterals, different documentations, so that they can perform all these kind of things. So these are the three kind of tasks, and they belongs to the atomic activity. Then we have a compound activity. Compound activity fall into a sub process. As sub process mean we can have multiple BPMs into that process. Like one main BPM and the sub process came, they have a segregated or small BPMs which are doing multiple stuff, and then we move into an other task or an other activity. So when we are designing a sub process, we have two options as a BPM designer. We can use it as a expandable sub process or a collapsible sub process. So collapsible sub process, normally we just give the name and plus sign. It means the sub process is defined somewhere else. If it is an expandable sub process, that it is already mentioned and explained the internal sub process or internal BPM inside that process. It's the choice of the person who is designing the BPM for that specific vertical and then horizontal. Now let's talk about descriptive subclass of activities. I I just give the brief introduction of the task. Like we have human task, we have service task, and we can have a task based on a rule engine or BRMS. So here we can integrate the BRMS. When we are designing a BPM and we want to show something that this task need to be done or dealt with a rule engine, as a BPM designer, we can do the text annotation, and then text annotation, we can define the business logic or business rules so that when the person who is implementing that BPM process already know that what is going to be implemented into the rule engine or into a code they are going to write down. Or if you are deploying these BPMs as an external system, then you have to use the BRMS or you can do it on your own so that the code base become the independent of your BPMS. The user task is a human task. Human task mean when the human intervention is needed. This we cannot have everything as an automated tasks. We need the human intervention in many places when we are going for a compliance verification, when we are going for a loan approval, which is more than that specific threshold, when we need a in healthcare, we need a physician or general practitioner's intervention, or we need pathology or radiology lab intervention. Those kind of things are called user task or human task. Then we have a service task. Service task normally we create when something we want to do to be done automatically, like it's an automated task. But there's a beauty when we are designing BPM. We want to have as many automated tasks as we can. So we will try to do the automated task or a service task. Then we have a collection of processes in a sub process. This is also an activity. In sub process, we can have a multiple BPMs. They have a start event and the end event. Mostly sub process always have start event, end event. Without that, the process sub process has will lose their value. We can use a simple human task or service task or simple task rather than a sub process. So in sub process, there will be at least one start event and one end event or terminate event. It's up to you. How we can depict the sub process is up to you. You can have a collapsible sub process where you can add a plus sign. It's already you can find in any BPM modeler, the sub process annotation will be there. They have a plus sign. They have a plus sign. So we have expandable, as I show you. This is the expandable BPM, with this all showing the start process, task, one activity, second activity, third activity, and the termination or end event. A sub process can also include multiple sub processes. It's up to you how complex is the system we are going to uh, design. So call activity has a thick border. So I will explain later what is a call activity and how. Uh, so what we can do, a call activity represent a point in the process where a global process or a global task is used. Like you have a global variables or global task which are going to be used within that event. Like the task which is creating a collateral documentation. And then collateral documentation can be used for any other task in the banking process. So that can be used with you need to define into a thick border. Now events. I told you we have two basic events: start event, end event, and the termination event. We have an email event. We have timer event. They are the basic, very important events. We need to understand because normally these events we are using a lot of time. Uh, we can create here human defined or extended events. It's up to us, and those events we can extend an event and we can add into a modeler. Other than that event, the most important event we need to understand is the event when we are entering into a node: message entry event, message exit event. What we are need to do when the message is going to enter into a node or a task. We can call BRMS, or we will trigger the user roles, or we will trigger business rules, we will trigger Java class, we will trigger stored procedures from the database, we will trigger or initiate a web service. Then message exit event, where the message is going to exit from a process or a task, what need to be done. So that need to be understand. So when how you can help the IT professional by using a text annotation if there is needed. If there's no needed, because not every node need to have a message entry event or message exit event. It's up to you and the importance of what you are going to do. Then we have an email event that email should be initiated. Then you have a timer event. Timer event is scheduled event that you want that this event should fire after 10 minutes, after 20 minutes of entering into the node. As soon the message or message token enter into the node, the timer starts. When the timer starts, it's like we call it as a delay process, that this node should execute after 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so that we can play with it. So that can help us to understand the business logic, or system can perform some background checks before performing the execution of them. So these are the beauty when you are designing the BPM events. So descriptive subclass of events. Here we again, as I explained, we have begin, we have email event, we have a timer event, we have a stop event, we have a shutdown event or termination event. So these are the events we need to understand. Now we talk about the gateways. The most important gateway we need to understand is an exclusive OR gateway or parallel gateway. Normally, exclusive OR gateway is a conditional logic gateway with if else. Like they can have multiple inputs, but the output will be one. If the condition belongs to A, go for the take the A route. If condition goes to B, go the B route. Parallel gateway mean there's a one entry point or a multiple entry point. It's up to your choice, but they have a multiple exit point at the same time. Like we are splitting our input into a multiple outputs so that we can perform multiple tasks at a parallel level. Like uh, when we are applying for a loan, we need to perform the KYC, we need to perform its credit history, we need to perform his it's a risk assessment. So this kind of thing we want to do it parallel way, so we can do it in a parallel way. So these are the gateways we are talking about. Or if you don't want to define any proper gateway, you can just define a conditional gateway, which is we call it in a diamond shape. All gateways are in a diamond shape. The tasks are into a quadrilateral or rectangle shape, which is and gateway are into a diamond shape, diamond icon. So we explain we have a exclusive OR gateway and we have an AND gateway. So when we are going for condition, it can be one input and exactly one allowable output, either A or B. Then we have a merging gateway. In the merging gateway, if we have an exclusive OR gateway at the time of initialization and we want to have a mergence, we want to merge something, we have to use the same gateway like exclusive OR gateway at the merging section of the gateways after doing some performing some tasks. When we are talking about AND gateway or parallel gateway, is the same process. Is this just need to resonate it if it's a parallel gateway at the initialization, and when we are going to merge or combine or synchronize, we can talk about uh, parallel gateway as a mergent gateway or combining gateway. We need to process or we need to do the data flow between the nodes. We have to pass the data from one task to another task. There are many ways you can do. You can create a global task or a global node that can be can be used into many other or consumed by many other tasks or activities, or you can use a persistent database, or you can use a caching mechanism. When we talk about a caching mechanism, we just define a paper with a clip or with a twisted uh, side, or with persistent database. It's like a cylinder with the three lines, horizontal lines. We call it as a persistent storage. It can be database or Oracle. It can be file system. It can be Postgres, MySQL, NoSQL. It's up to you if you really want to define how you want to. We use a dotted line. It's like a data flow line. It's not a proper sequence of execution. It's a we can say it is that we are going associated with that we are association to an external data source or a caching mechanism that this is going to be used. Like here we are talking about insert user data. When user data is inserted, this is a second task, store user data. There is a two-way. We were using that data into a caching mechanism rather than storing it to a global and passing it, because every implementation has their own limitations of passing a global variables or global data. We can use as a caching mechanism, and then we can consume that caching mechanism into a processing and then storing into a persistent database. So this is called this dotted line, dotted arrowhead is called data association or association line. This is called execution path line. It's a strong arrowhead. Or so this is start event, end event. This is a human task. This is the automated task. And this is our persistence storage, and this is our caching storage, which is used for passing the data from one task to another task. So that can help when you are designing an optimum uh, uh, software based on that BPM. We already discussed about text notes or text annotations. So this is a way we can talk about text annotations where we are defining that what to do at that specific task or that specific event or that specific gateway, or you can explain that this business logic need to be verified when you are entering into that node. So it helps the software development team or IT infrastructure team or DevOps team to understand what need to be done at that specific task, or something you want to do a preload or pre-persist or pre-process something. This is called, as I told you, the dotted line is always association line. Then we can have a grouping line. We can create a group label. It's just for presentation. It is not sub process. Sub process is different. I told you sub process has a different task or different activity. But if you want to explain to your system testers or the end user that these tasks are doing what kind of activity, you can just create a group label that we can define it belongs to that specific group. Again, this is a group label. This is not a swim lane or a pool. This need to be understand when you are designing your BPM and then when you are using your BPM. Now we talk about connecting objects. We have a sequence flow is always represented by performed activities. This is a strong line, strong arrowhead. Then we have association line, which is that dotted arrowhead. Then we have an association, is a dotted line. And then we have angular bracket. This is the dotted line is association. They don't have an arrowhead. Then we have a message flow. Message flow is a strong arrowhead with a dotted line that this task is going to send or initializing this message for an other pool, for an other swim lane, for an other role to perform some activities or some actions. You can use as a message oriented middleware, which can help you to be as a proper asynchronous way of communication, or you can use a REST API. It's up to you. But when we use uh, uh, message flow, try to use message oriented middleware. It can help you to minimize the interdependencies between the swim lanes and the pool. Or if you want that, it's better you can use the text annotation here at that point, text annotation, so that when the persons or team who is developing the system can understand that we need to use the message oriented middleware to perform this message flow. It's up to them. Either they go for GMS pack or AMQP spec. If GMS pack, it's up to them. They go for ActiveMQ, IBM based message broker, Oracle based message broker, or they can go for uh, uh, RabbitMQ for AMQP protocols. They can go for, if it's IoT based, they can go for Mosquito uh, message broker. I mean, the choice of the team when they are implementing message flow. So here I'm explaining like a complete diagram of process modeling element. We have a swim lane, we have a participant, which are the pool. Swim lane can have a multiple pool, or sorry, pool can have a multiple swim lane. So it's up to when you are designing it. We have a sequence flow, which is a strong arrowhead uh, showing the direction of the process execution. We have a message flow with a dotted and a complete arrowhead, like a full arrowhead. We have an exclusive gateways, we have a parallel gateways, we have a conditional gateways. We have a task, like a normal task where we can assign BRMS. Like we are giving the open-ended idea or open-ended field for a software development team that this is the task. It's up to them how they want to use it. Then we have a user task. User task means this must be a human intervention required uh, by by the team who is going to consume it. We have a service task. Service task and task can be used as a vice versa. I mean, you can use it as an synonyms to each other, but they are not synonyms, but they can be used. Service task mean that this task has some services behind it. Can be a Java class, it can be a stored procedure, it can be BRMS, it can be a web service. It's up to us. We have a sub process which can be expandable or collapsible. We have a call activity. We have a data object. Data object means it's a shareable object between different activities or different tasks. It can be cache, it can be key value pair, like hash maps or maps. We have a text annotation, we have association, data association, we have a persistence annotation, we call data store reference to show the persistence, like store Postgre, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, MySQL, or NoSQL database. When we are talking about events, we have a start event, We have an end event, we have a message event, we have a timer event, we have a terminate event. Then we have a group annotations where we are doing as a group, uh, group labeling for defining the, or combining the group of the tasks. So for today's, I hope I have covered the basic sets of BPM annotations. In my next lecture, I will cover the full set of annotations, and then how can we extend those basic annotations from the full set to accommodate our business requirements. So thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.